Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ali Allah Madad Farma. So today we'll talk about remembrance. These articles are in the book 3, Do You Ever Wonder? Remembrance and Mindfulness. In this book, we have talked about remembrance. Mola has given a lot of emphasis on remembrance. Mola says in Nairobi, Kenya, on October 24th, 1986, remember that faith is yours. Remember to practice your faith. Be regular in the practice of your faith. And remember that thinking of Allah is not restricted in time. You may think of your faith when you go to the office, when you come back from the office, when you're in public meetings. Nobody asks you what you are thinking about. You are free to think about your faith anytime that you are awake, anytime during your lifetime. And I say this to my Jamaat in Kenya, but also for the Jamaat in other parts of the world. Because in Islam, remembering is very important, and because the pressure of the industrialized society demand more and more of your time. And it is more and more difficult to find the time for every individual. And I know this, to practice his faith as regularly as he would wish. And I say this because within Islam, remembering is fundamentally important, whether it is for a second, a hundredth of a second, and an hour. But remember, and if you know your faith, you will find that this is a very fundamental part of the Islamic faith practiced by all Muslims. So the word remembrance in Arabic is zikr. Okay? The way our peers have said, Jire bhaire Atma Ram tame bada ginani, tari gat kene na jani. So Peer is telling us that in our soul has all the knowledge of all the worlds. There is no gap, there is no deficiency in the soul. But when we come to this world, we do not know anything. We have to learn everything. And now today, at our wise age, I would say, we are trying to learn about spirituality. But it seems that we do not know much about spirituality. So the practice of zikr is actually to help us remember. That's why the word is remembrance. That when we do zikr, we are actually trying to connect with our soul so we can recall what we have forgotten. Now the question is, what have we forgotten? So the Quran says, there's a verse, it says, Kalu, alastu bi rabbikum. Tell me, who is your God? And it says that all the souls had prostrated to Mawla and said that Beshak, indeed, you are our Lord, you are our God. But we don't remember this. And today, some of us ask question, who is Hazrat Imam and how is he Hazrat Imam? There was one question that, is he selected or is he elected like Pope? And how is Noor in him? There are so many questions, but our soul has all the knowledge, but we don't. So by doing zikr, we are trying to connect to our soul and get to that knowledge which is in us. And in Quran it says the word for that knowledge is ilme laduni, the knowledge which directly comes from Allah to you. Okay, you don't learn or go to school to learn that knowledge. That is kind of communicated to your soul within you, and you know everything. So that's the purpose of trying to remember. Additionally, Allah says in the Quran that we all are born from single soul, nafsin wahida. O mankind, be careful of your duty to your Lord, who created you from a single soul, and from it created its mate, and from then hath spread abroad a multitude of men and women. So from single soul, the Nur of Mawla, his soul only, that soul was divided into multitude of men and women. So now we are so many. The reason of remembrance is that we all are going to be fana in him. When we are saying that, what we are saying is that all the souls who have come from him are going to go back to him. Inna Allahi wa inna Allahi raji'un. So the soul, the Nur was one, and we became so many souls Now we have to go back to him. In order to go back to him, we need to learn how, why, when it happens. Does it happen only when we die? Then the question arises, let's say if just we want to discuss that if we all are going to die and be one with him, and Mukhi Sahib says that asal mein wasal, so all the ruhanis are going to be in asal mein wasal. Then the question arises, a person who goes to Jamaat Khana regularly, gives the son, follows all the farmans, versus a person who does not regularly go to Jamaat Khana, does not follow farman, but both of them when they die, Mukhi Sahib says asal mein wasal. So does that mean that that person who works so hard, was he wrong? That would be the question. Yeah, was he wrong? No, he was not. Then why? The question would be why. Meaning that to be in asal mein wasal, it can happen during your lifetime. You do not have to wait to die. Okay? Nobody has to wait to die. However, how does that happen? So the Prophet Muhammad says, Mutu kabla anta mutu. Die before your death. Meaning that you kill your carnal soul so you can be one with him during your lifetime. Because what would be the fun if we are being one with him when we are dead? We won't even know it. You know? But to be one with him during the lifetime, it's so much pleasure and happiness to realize that whatever zikr you did, whatever knowledge you took, has given you the reward during this lifetime, that you can see that you are one with Mawla. Imagine that happiness. Right?
1 minute. Can I ask? Those who are not coming regularly in Jamaat Khana, they got salvation?
Good question, right? That's a question.
Because those are doing hard work, they will get it definitely. But those who are not coming and doing...
So that question, then that means that it tells us that there are ranks. Darjat. Ranks. There are ranks. Layers. Stages, yes.
Okay.
It cannot be true. Like, let's take an example of a child who goes to school. Two kids go to school. One works very hard to get his grades, good grades, and other does not work hard and gets just passed. And they both are promoted to the next class. What is the difference? What is the difference? So similarly, in the worldly manner, a person who works hard is being recognized for his hard work, is being rewarded. Similarly, a person who works hard in his spiritual life, for his spiritual life, he will be at an elevated ranks. So take an example of a building with 100 floors. Maulana Papa lives on 100 floor, okay? And a person would be on first floor, another person would be probably 15th floor, probably 90th floor. But the one who have worked so hard will be with Imam on the 100th floor.
Yes.
But they all are with Imam.
Yes.
They are on the same building. Right? Because being Ismaili, no Ismaili is going to be, out of heavens. We all are going to heavens. But the question is not in the heavens or out of the heavens. The question is, how am I close to my Mawla, to my beloved? The more you want to be close to him, the more you have to work hard to increase your ranks. Okay? So that's how we would understand. Now, when we are talking of zikr, because all this understanding we are trying to get is through the practice of zikr. Because we are getting knowledge, okay? Let's take it differently. Generally, an Ismaili would go to Jamaat Khana, do compulsory dua, dason, and then Chandrat ki madlas. Those are compulsory things. Ismaili who wants to go further may take Isme Azam.
Yes.
Right? But even if you just do meditation, and if you don't have knowledge on how to do meditation, what happens, what kind of didar you get in meditation, it is like you're sitting in a boat with only one, one pedal. So, when you just use one pedal in a small boat, what will happen? You'll go round and round and round and round. You will never go further. So, that's an example of a moment without knowledge. With knowledge, you are able to move further. because you have the knowledge of how, what, why, and then you do your zikr and ibadat and you go further. Till today, we have learned that we need to be practicing our ibadat, but during the daytime, when you are not in your Nurani time doing ibadat, what would you do? Would you think of worldly things? Then it's like 23 hours if you are doing your worldly thoughts and worldly things. On 24th hour, you'll not be able to focus. So during the daytime, you got to be practicing. What do you practice? How do you practice? There are different ways of practicing. Attending ilmi classes, number one. Number two is doing zikr. So there are so many types of zikr. One type is like yesterday when we were in Chandra, we all stood up and did zikr together. So that is zikr with jamaat. Okay. Then there's a zikr you do individually. Okay. So zikr jamaat and then zikr fard, individual. Individual zikr, jamaat, zikr with jamaat. And then when you do zikr a khafi, meaning in your heart, when you say yali yali yali, khafi is like hidden within yourself. And then you do zikr jali, meaning with using your tongue loudly, making voice you can hear yali yali. So you are doing zikr jali. So there are 4 types of zikr. There are more types actually, but these are basic types, and we'll understand. For our understanding, this is the most important type. Now, the process of remembrance can be difficult. Why? Because constantly the worldly thoughts are in our mind. We're thinking of this and thinking of that. So Hazrat Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah, Salawatullah alayhi, our souls be sacrificed on this Imam, has said that it is difficult to stay in remembrance, as Satan is after you to get distracted. Only Hakikati Mu'min will be able to stay in remembrance, because Shaitan is always after us. It is important to note that despite of our utmost desire to stay in remembrance, only the Hakikati Mu'min will stay in remembrance. So the zikr is not something which everybody can do. And remembrance, it cannot be done by everybody. So there is a criteria for you to meet to be able to do zikr. That is to become Hakikati. Meaning, what is Hakikati? Now, question would be, what is Hakikat, right? I'm wondering if I've answered that question here myself.
Hakikati moment means those who know the haq, truth.
So there are 4 stages in our religion, right? Shariat, Tariqat, Hakikat, Marifat. So Maula Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullah alayhi has said that our religion is Hakikat. Sufi Mazhab is Tariqat. So when you are in Hakikat, then only you can get to the truth. So those moments who are the seekers of the truth and are working to get the truth will be called Hakikati. Another Farman Mawla says that, there is a person who has a job, his boss gives him money, salary, gives him food, and he's sitting and he's happy. And he says, I don't have to work hard, I have a job, I get salary, I'm going to sit here and not do anything more. Mawla says, if a person thinks like that, he will never be elevated to become a boss. So in order to get salvation, if you're happy the way you are, meaning if you're not searching for the truth, then you will never get salvation. In order for you to get salvation, you have to think that tomorrow I want to become a master. In the worldly examples, in the spiritual example, we would say that I want to elevate myself to be one with my master. So when you're one with master, who are you? You're master yourself. You're master yourself, right? So that's the definition of Hakikati Mu'min. Hakikati Mu'min is also, like the word meaning is true believer. True believer. Okay? He stays in constant remembrance through his intention. Without intention, if you do zikr or bandagi, it may not give you the same reward as you would want. There is a huge importance of intention. I don't know if you have heard the saying of Prophet Muhammad that all the deeds are checked based on your intention.
Yes.
अमाल का दारो मदार नीयत पर है.
नीयत के
Your intention.
intention.
For example, if a person goes to Jamaat Khana and he says, oh, I want to go to Jamaat Khana because I want to meet my friend, he or she will not get any benefit of doing dua, tasbih, giryazari, nothing, because the intention was to meet friend. So it was a social event. It was not to meet Mola Baba. So intention matters a lot. A person may sit in zikr and say, Mola Baba, please, I'm having this worldly difficulty, help me resolve this. So that benefit of that zikr is only limited to worldly difficulties. And a wise and intelligent moment would say, Mola Baba, this zikr first I want in my spiritual life, because that's the hakikat. That's the end, at the end of the day, that's what will be with me. But in my lifetime, during this world, this temporary world, if you solve this, Mola Baba, I'll be grateful. Yes. So you can ask for both the things, but it has to, but you got to have the knowledge, so to be able to set the right intention. Without right intention, the deed may be wasted. Example of it would be, another example of, like the way we just said, that going to Jamaat Khana, whole tasbihat, ibadat, bandagi, it's all wasted because you intended to just meet your friend. So it's crucially important to have intention always. A moment when wakes up, he intends to have a good day with zikr, with Mola Baba. A moment who goes to bed at night, says tasbih and says that whole my night, Mola Baba, count my sleep as tasbih, because that's what Imam's farman is. Yes. Right? After the intention, our actions are noted. Our actions are noted. In religion, one deeds are not limited to saying tasbih or isme azam. It requires one to be honest in his or her dealings. You got to be honest. Being respectful of others, speaking the truth, extending a helping hand to those in need, having an open mind, staying clear of judgment. All, the biggest sins are done, how they are done? In thoughts, in mind. When we go out, we are very conscious. People are looking at us, so we do not, we behave. But in our thinking, if we are judging others, we are sinning. Yes. So the very, huge sin is being committed through thoughts. So it's very important to stay free of judgment. And how can you do that? By staying in remembrance. Refraining from speaking ill about others, quick to forgive and forget, being generous with money, time and knowledge. Staying content and positive in difficult times. If you have worldly difficulties, a mu'min knows that the worldly difficulties are actually blessings from Allah. So we remember Him more. Yes. We never complain. No. The one who complains loses the reward from that difficulty. A mu'min who complains loses the reward from that difficulty. Because when the difficult time comes in, a mu'min stays shukr guzar. He says shukr Mawla, and he goes through that difficult time, stays in remembrance of Mawla Bapa. Then what happens? He is rewarded multiplied times. Yes. Of his tasbiyat and of his patience. But a person who complains loses the reward. Even if he had done the tasbihat, he will not be rewarded. So it's all loss kind of situation. So the importance of staying shukr guzar is huge, because you want to get the benefit of all what you are going through. Seeking the true knowledge and making it a part of his daily life. Seeking true knowledge is very important, and it is connected to time and knowledge, Nazrana. Today we don't have time. People are so busy. Who is willing to give time? Time to learn, time to teach. Both ways it applies, right? If there is no learner, there will be no teacher. If there is no teacher, there will be no learner. So we have to be able to give time to learn this knowledge, so we can elevate our souls to go up, right? The Quran says, unto him ascends good words, and the good deed elevates it. So if you have good words, meaning zikr, but if you don't have good deeds, it would not be elevated. And the reference for that is 35/10. You need good deeds, achhe amal, in order for your zikr to be successful.
Successful.
So a person who goes to Jamaat Khana every day, okay, does tasbih every day, but his actions are not pure, then there is no benefit of it, right? And Haji Imam has said that in a meritocratic society, think of your role predicted not only on merit but on ethical principles. Because if you do not apply the ethical principles of our faith to your everyday lives, the concept of merit becomes falsified. And therefore, I would like that my Jamaat in India to be rigorous and disciplined in the practice of its faith and in the observation of the ethic of our faith. So, ethic is so important. And Imam Maula Bapa just uses the word ethics in Urdu. Ethics means ikhlaqiyat. Your ikhlaq. And if you are not observant of that in your worldly life, no matter what you do, no matter how much donation you give or how regular you are in Jamaat Khana, how regular you are in Bandagi, nothing would matter. Nothing would matter. To stay in remembrance is to say the word, which represents faith, its principles and knowledge. Whatever the word may be, tasbih or isme azam, it cannot reach higher if it is not being backed by good deeds. Another question sometimes people ask that, can I say my isme azam during the daytime? It's your zikr, it's your isme azam. You can say it at daytime or nighttime. However, Imam has said that the time from 4 to 5 is the best time for success. So that time is the most important time to do your zikr, bandagi at that time. But if you will not practice your Isme Azam during that time, you might even forget. You got to be practicing your Isme Azam during the daytime so you remember, you learn how to say it, you learn how to focus on it, so you can do a better job at 4 to 5. So it is okay to say your Isme Azam during the daytime, and it is okay to do tasbihat too. So tasbihat, Isme Azam, it's actually one and same. For example, Ya Ali, we say it as a tasbih, or Allahu Akbar, we say it as a tasbih, but it can be Isme Azam too.
Yes.
They are names of Ali. So what a name, if a name is a tasbih for me, for somebody else, it could be Isme Azam, meaning I'm saying his or her Isme Azam. So in other words, what we are saying, that we can say Isme Azam during the daytime too, but it is ours. So we are not going to say it loudly in our heart. It's a zikr khafi, because it's our Isme Azam. But we have to practice it during daytime, so we practice tasbihat and the Isme Azam. In addition to doing your zikr, it is very important to know the meaning. Whatever tasbih you choose, whatever ism you decide to recite, you need to know the meaning. Meaning is also at two levels. The meaning of the word, the literal meaning, and the true meaning of that word, right? Like I would say, if you want to know Ali, this ism Ya Ali, it's a name of Maula Ali. There's no meaning in it, but there's a huge meaning. Who is Ali? How is Ali? Why is Ali? So there is so much more into it. If you understand the buzragi of Ali, then when you say Ya Ali, your heart will be melted with ishq and and then when you call his name, how beautiful that would feel in your heart. So it matters that we understand the meaning of these words too. The last point, but the most important point, is how to say these tasbih. How to say these tasbih. How? Should we say it like a parrot? Yali, 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 yali. Though we said about meaning too.
Yes.
But there is more than meaning. When we understand the meaning, when it comes from your heart with Giriya Uzari. Now what is Giriya Uzari? We do Giriya Uzari morning and evening. The word Giriya Uzari means to cry like a young child. Giriya Uzari. Zari, Giriya, it's a compound word that you do, when you call upon Mawla, you do it with such a Giriya Uzari. Our peers used to do Giriya Uzari, our prophets used to do Giriya Uzari, and I do not know if you have heard about Prophet Dawood.
Yes.
He used to do Giri Awzari so much so that it is being said that his pillow would be wet, his mattress would be wet, because he would be crying so much at night time in remembrance of Mola. So when we are saying his name, if our eyes are dry, it's not going to be elevated. So, and how can we have our eyes, like how can we cry? Mola has said, Sultan Muhammad Shah, our souls be sacrificed on this Imam. Imam has said that do not cry if your child dies. Do not cry if you have lost your hard-earned money. Why do we have tears then? The tears are given to us just to shed in the ishq of Mola. So when we are calling upon his name and with ishq, we will be doing Giri Awzari. And when we do Giri Awzari like that and call upon his name like that, it immediately goes to his court and is like standing in front of him. Mola Bapa, listen, give attention. Right? So we'll end here. Yali Madad.